We spend an average of 8 hours and 41 minutes a day facing screens. Laptops, smartphones, tablets, even digital refrigerators. But what are we really connected to? Isn't it time you connected to something greater? Sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect. This moment of escape was created by Haggerty for people who love cars.
Welcome to RCS. I'm Dan.
And I'm Nick. And apparently my voice at 150 miles an hour on the Autobahn is a little distracting, I was told this weekend.
That's kind of a compliment.
I mean, I guess it is. Alan and Tammy were out breaking in their new Alpine somewhere.
Nice.
And that was the phrase he told me. I was like, I don't think I've been told a lot of, compliments, insults, more insults than compliments in my life, but I've earned them all. But that was a good one. So he said it was nice to be able to keep up with us while they were over there. And I was like, well, it's rough. I was like, you can record a podcast and we'll listen to it.
Yeah,
about your
I would
story.
do that. I would listen to anything from Alan and Tammy.
So yeah, it was great. But I was like, it was one of those things where he said it and it was like it clicked, and I was like, wait, what? So yeah. But yeah, how was your weekend?
Great. It's been extremely productive and fun. We had the Avance Off-Road event, which was nice to have those back. Absolutely perfect weather for that.
Weirdly perfect.
Yeah. Like
we all showed up ready for rain.
Yeah, dry enough to keep everyone comfortable, wet enough to not have any dust. Like it gave really mixed conditions on the track, and everybody was laughing and having a great time. Like we gave away 3 Griot's care packages. Fun participants. Like it was fun to see everybody just laughing as they went around the track, and
people are having fun, but they know not to beat on their stuff. But I don't think that we had any issues this.
No.
I mean, it was good. It was fun to watch. I love watching the children that get to come.
Yes, that is
fun.
One of my favorite parts, because as a kid, it's like jumping in the puddles with the truck.
Yep.
Or whatever you're driving.
Somebody else's toys.
Yeah. And so it was fun to watch the kids just still like laughing, whole families laughing.
Yeah.
And getting the wives behind the wheels. Cause,
I like that. That we're
seeing
the families come out.
It's rare we see a woman who does a lot of off-roading whose husband doesn't.
Yeah.
But it's common that we see husbands and whose wives don't. And it's great to see this being mixed and people enjoying it from both sides. So, yeah.
We had a 95-year-old woman, or 85-year-old woman who bought a Jeep back in 92, has put 200 and some thousand miles on it, off-road, original owner. It's been towed just about as far as that. Her husband is an off-roader. He wasn't there because I think he was doing something else because he was 95. Really cool to see, out there thrashing it up. So if you're an Avance member, you need to be coming out. If you know an Avance member, they can sign you up too, I believe, and you can come with them.
Yeah, actually, we had one guy in session 2 who came by right at the end of session 1 who just saw the sign. And he talked to Adam, and we had a spot in the afternoon that we just kind of fit him in. And he had a great time and signed up immediately afterwards, because that's typically what you do after an Avance event.
Exactly.
So he was having a great time with his, he had an F-150 and he had just done tires to it. That was it. So he got to play with all the modes, do recovery classes. And so, yeah, we've said it before, if you're in the area, just swing by. Even if you can't drive the course, even if you're a sports car driver, just come by and watch. It's a good time. Maybe you'll probably just hop in with somebody and go for a ride anyway.
Yeah, come out in the RCS tent.
Yeah.
We're always sitting there. Yeah.
Yeah, but special thanks to the volunteers, especially for that event.
Absolutely.
Because it's they really do such a great job teaching and getting everybody through there safely. So Brandon Van Pelt was out that morning, so Galen Blank took over as the lead for the morning, and then Brandon came in later and took back over. But Ryan and Michael especially, there's tons of volunteers there. But
no, some guy showed up at lunch named Ben, who I do not know.
What do you call him every time?
Brandon Van Pelt. Brandon Van Pelt. What do you mean, who's Ben? Yeah.
So, yeah. But then after that, it was a productive day Saturday afternoon. But Sunday, I did Wabder Section 3. Washington Backcountry Discovery Route. Okay. And that was Brian Elitch's birthday fun run.
Happy birthday, Brian.
Happy birthday, Brian.
Yeah.
We had a really great time. I had a ton of fun. I just went by myself. But it was a perfect day for it. And a special shout out to Ryan, Ryan Reichert and Michael Smith, Avance volunteers, but also they kind of led the team through there. And since Michael, both him and Ryan do the Northwest Overland Rally, and they actually guide people through that section of the Wabder. And so it was fun to have literal trail experts who knew that like the back of their hand.
How was going through that on the Raptor compared to going through on the Monkey?
Way harder.
Way harder. That's weird.
No challenge in the Raptor, of course. I mean, it wasn't a challenge, but it was.
But you went through that washout, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got my first trail damage on the Raptor.
Oh.
What'd you do? Scoffed off like 2 inches of textured material on the bottom of the sideboard.
Oh, well.
That I didn't even bend it. I totally could have avoided it. I just didn't see the rock next to me.
Well, that happened. But as far as trail damage goes, that's pretty minor.
It was nothing. It had been replaced anyway, but you can't even see it unless you're looking for it.
Okay.
I'll probably like fix it with a Sharpie. I'm not even kidding.
Well, I mean, if you can draw it in, great.
Yeah, it was like at the very bottom of the step. Didn't do anything. But this episode, we thought we would do... let me rewind a little bit. So I was talking to Pat Newton. Him and his wife came out with their purple Jeep to the Avance Off-Road event and gave me, in my opinion, a great compliment to us in that he was basically just buying through our list of things. We have a list on our page.
We do.
Of all the off-road products we use. Mm-hmm. And so he basically just had everything that we had on the list to buy.
And if you want to go on that list and buy us something off that list,
right?
We would gladly have it, you know.
Yeah,
sure.
We'll take theirs.
Yeah.
But I thought in that spirit of that, I ran into another guy, Fernando Dern.
I think it's Dern, isn't it?
It's Dern, yeah. He has a black Lexus GX, and he has done a lot of the same thing. And he took me through a trail section the Raptor was too wide to fit through. That was off the main route. Rode along with him in his GX, which made it look like a cakewalk. And it wasn't that hard of a trail. It was just narrow and ton of fun. But yeah, it turns out people actually listen to the show and buy the things we asked them to. So
wow,
yeah.
I mean, and you know, because we've been talking about this, who's this show sponsored by, Dan?
I was just going to say.
Oh, okay, that would be a good idea.
If you want to keep buying stuff from
so we can keep buying stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our friends at Avance, Carter Subaru, Griot's Garage, Haggerty, and we are not at Drivers Club tonight.
We're not. We're actually back in old school. We're in my living room because it was... If you listen to last week's episode, I'm heading out to F1. Dan's heading to Moab. It's just been so busy, but yeah.
Yeah, and of course, Ray York at York Real Estate. But yeah, RCS 10 for those Griot's products. So I want to get back into that.
Excellent. So now that we're talking about our list, and we thought we'd kind of go back and touch on it. I mean,
yeah, and this, like, again, kind of like the last episode I listened to it. The whole thing's centered on Carter Subaru Tip of the Week, and there's a lot of them in here. I will jump into that segue, though, during the story, because you guys are going to get a laugh out of this one. I have a story from yesterday. Nothing to do with our group I will show the video evidence because if I didn't have it on video, you probably wouldn't believe it.
Okay.
It's one of those like, no, that didn't really happen. That's just a story. No, it happened.
Yeah.
And we all saw it, and it's yeah. Anyway, we'll get into that in a minute. I
still don't even know what he's going to talk about.
Yeah,
so
I haven't told Nick yet because
I'm anticipating.
I'm looking forward to his reaction.
I see. Okay.
That
didn't happen.
This whole thing, I heard somebody say something the other day, and totally unrelated. Said it's okay to change your opinion or your beliefs based on new information you know to be true.
Wow.
Yeah.
That applies to so many things these days.
It's not political at all.
No.
But anyway. But in this case, it made me think of redoing our list because it's one of our most popular episodes, and I have a lot of new information, a lot more trail experience. We have new gadgets. We have new gear. We have field tested all of our gear even more since last winter.
Broken, repaired, played with so many things, upgraded. Yeah.
Learned the hard way.
Yeah.
But, let's get started. So let's do a quick review. We're not going to go too much into the old stuff. But so we have the Morphlate we still use, the Arb Easy Deflate, air compressors, soft shackles, kinetic recovery rope, tire plug kits and valve stem cores, new tires, traction boards. All that still applies. And I still stand by that stuff. But some new stuff. Lately, I started with the Monkey Rally. We've been using a lot more GPS mapping software.
Yeah, which is, I mean, if you don't know, GPS has come a long way from walking into Best Buy and buying a huge computer screen to put on your dash from, Garmin at the time. But it has gone, you can really have GPS signal wherever you want. It's hard to kind of find, it's easy to do it with your cell phone.
Yeah.
But with some of the advanced Garmin GPS systems, one of which we have, which is the Garmin 700 Montana, it's really hard to be able to get lost. So
yeah, and especially since the batteries run forever. I'm still a big paper map believer, and for my trip to Moab, I ordered a physical book of trails because just in the odd case scenario that this fails, I have that book.
I love, and I remember this from a child, like stopping somewhere, and you push out the map on the hood of your car,
yes,
and you try to figure out where you are, where you want to go. It's so much fun.
Yeah, so on the Monkey Rally, we use Onyx Off-Road and Gaia. Onyx Off-Road is an Avance partner. You can get 20% off a premium membership. And for all your major trail systems, you will be able to use it and have most of the routes preloaded. That said, the backcountry discovery routes all have GPS tracks you can download for free and import to Onyx or Gaia. I recently added a mount to the dash of the Raptor, and I added a iPad mini right to the middle of it, and it works great. And a lot of people ask me, well, Gaia, for one, actually has a CarPlay app.
Yeah.
But it is not nearly as feature-rich as the app that is actually on the phone. And while it works for basic stuff, and if you don't have that option, it's a good one. I'm glad they did it.
If you kind of know your route and have it loaded in or know where you want to go, it works decently well in CarPlay.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with the first go at it. That said, the iPad mini and having that dedicated screen, which is much higher resolution than just about every car dash screen and gets updated much more frequently than the CarPlay app, you get more options. And on the WebDo yesterday, I had it up and I was literally field testing it before I went to Moab. I wanted to make sure it worked. It was fantastic.
So are you running that Bluetooth to your phone, or how? Or
no,
did you buy an iPad with cellular?
I bought an iPad with cellular, and this is another tip on these. If you do this and you want to do this with an iPad, not just any iPad will work. You have to buy one with cellular, even if you don't use cellular. The reason is because it has the GPS built into it, and the ones without cellular do not
have GPS. Okay.
And so, like, I have Wi-Fi in the truck, and that's what I tether the GPS, the iPad mini to versus my phone. And so it has data all the time. I don't need the cell plan. It's nice that it's there. But it worked fantastic the entire way through the backcountry discovery route.
But you don't have to sign the iPad up for the cellular.
No,
you just need it for the GPS.
Just need it for the GPS.
Yes.
And that allowed me to quickly and easily zoom in. I had the brightness turned up all the way, made it really easy to see the trail. And like I said, I was just torture testing it, but it worked fantastically well, and I'm really glad I did it. I was worried that it maybe not be worth it, but man, it was a huge upgrade from just having the phone.
If you have an existing iPad or phone that you're not using, what you can do, and this is something a lot of people don't know, is you can go into Google and you can go to the area you want to go to while you have cellular service and download that map. You're not going to get all the trails, but you're going to get a heck of a lot more than not having anything.
Yeah, and you can do that with Gaia at Onyx too. You can select your area and download the map offline, which is what I did, and you should do. Learn how to do that, test it in your living room, play with it, figure it out. Don't learn it on the trail. You will regret it. But
play in your living room.
Yeah.
Set a route from your kitchen to your bedroom. Yeah.
That said, it worked awesome, and a huge shout out to Quadlock. I used an adhesive Quadlock mount onto the back of an iPad mini, like minimal case, to a RAM arm. Now, Quadlock now has their own arm, and it's called the 360 mount. And it will go to a standard RAM mount ball, or they have their own ball that comes with it. But most importantly, you can turn it and lock it really easily until it's stuck in place. But that thing was rock solid. Through every bump I hit it down, and trust me, in the Raptor, we were moving pretty quick in some sections that I was genuinely testing it on, some really rough stuff. Held 100% solid the whole time. Never moved on me once.
Again, not sponsored by Quadlock, but we use them on the bikes. We use them in the cars. And if you haven't experienced Quadlock, go on their website and look at this. Their new system, you can build it piece by piece for what you need it to be. And they show it on everything from boat windows to inside cars, SUVs, things like that, bikes. I moved mine back and forth. I broke a Quadlock ring for my bike, but that was not Quadlock's fault. It was my fault. But it practically fixed itself. But I can't speak more highly of them.
Yeah, I've tried other systems, all of them, and they are by far the one that is the most well thought out all the way through.
RAM works.
Yeah, RAM works. You can get more options with RAM as far as arm lengths and things like that. I'm just talking about like a phone mount or a tablet mount.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, RAM, you can mount mirrors with, all sorts of stuff. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking RAM at all, but when it comes to a phone or tablet mount, Quadlock is the only thing I'll use anymore.
And I will say this, the one thing, if you're getting any of these mounts and you're putting them on bikes or cars, like Quadlock I know has this. They have an isolator that goes in between the mount and vibration dampening, and you will kill an iPad or a phone, especially the camera, if it sits there and vibrates, especially on a motorcycle. We've said it 100 times, but
yes,
we can say it again.
That said, your iPad Mini, the old one, does not have image stabilization in the lens. You don't need to worry about it. And in a truck or in a car, it's not as bad, don't get me wrong, but you should still have it if you have a phone image stabilization.
Just get it in case you move it into another.
Yeah, well, it causes the phone or the tablet, especially because it's larger, to move a little because of the vibration dampening. Well, it works.
Yeah.
And so if it's a must, do it. If not, don't. That's why I went with last year's Mini, actually, because of that. I went with a cheaper iPad.
Last year's model?
I went the 5th gen. The new one is much nicer, don't get me wrong, but this was just, for what I was doing, was perfect.
They changed them so much, it's hard.
Yeah. Next thing on new stuff, I wanted to talk more about suspension because we didn't list it last time. Okay. And I don't think it's entirely necessary for every vehicle. We had a bone stock 4Runner on the ride with us yesterday, and which was perfect because we had tons of recovery vehicles, and it's the backcountry discovery route. You should be able to take a stock vehicle, anything from a Crosstrek with good tires, anything, can do just about everything on there. Maybe the washout might be a little sketchy, but with a short wheelbase vehicle, no problem. Anyway, they were bone stock, even street tires, and they still made it. They had to back up and go a few different times. But
get a run at it.
But that said, suspension and lifts, while not necessarily what I would say you must do this, what I wanted to bring up was how much it is worth it to go more than the most basic system. So what specifically I'm talking about is IMS shocks versus twin tube shocks.
Monotubes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so IMS shocks, basically, you get the advantages of a reservoir shock, the high and low speed dampening, without the reservoir sticking off of it. Now, don't be wrong. It is better to go to a shock with a remote reservoir, but this is sort of the sweet spot of how do I say this? It's the sweet spot of not spending too much and getting 90% of the results.
Well, and I think the basis of this, too, we need to say, and we've said this before, figure out what you want to do with your car.
Yeah.
If it's going to be your toy that you're going to drive on the weekends, then you're going to be taking it in places and challenging yourself. I think the one thing everybody has asked us and talked to us about is the fact he's like, well, I want a suspension for this car, and I found this suspension. Okay, you can mix and match. Yeah. My Subaru is a perfectly good example. I mean, I've got spacers from one person, springs from another person, shocks from another person. You can build a system that will fit your needs for your car.
I'm just speaking for ride comfort in this. Yes. It's IMS shocks from Dobbinson's, for example, which is super popular, and they're like 6 to 8 months out.
Every time you say IMS, I think of the gas tanks for bikes.
Right, yeah. So, also worth it.
Yes.
But that said, it's like, I think it's like $250 or $300 more for the IMS shocks. And if you're going to already go into a lift, which is about $800 from them, for $1,100 you get the IMS, and it's 100% worth it. Mm-hmm. The ride comfort is so much better than the standard twin tube nitro shocks. You will be glad you spent the extra money. It's 100% worth it. And like watching vehicles move down the trail, and then we had like 15, I think. So there's a lot to look at and observe. You could clearly see the difference on every vehicle that did, and it paid off in your back at the end of the day.
Well, and you have to remember, a lot of these times, if these are going to be your daily drivers, you have to have a car that's comfortable to drive on the road. You know, there's a lot of these off-road vehicles that have a lot of body sway, but they're going slow, so it doesn't matter. But next time you go around a roundabout, you're going to really feel that and not like it.
Yeah, and I said they're all better than stock for when you need a lift. I mean, you have to change your shocks out if you're going to keep them around a long time, otherwise you'll blow the seals on them. But yeah, just spend a little more, $200-$300, and it's worth it. If you're ever wondering, 100% worth it.
And doing a body lift, the things on your frame will still scratch. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Your frame is not higher. Yeah.
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 And so I was talking to Pat over the weekend, of course, and this is the next one goes directly to him. I tell everybody, now Pat has a really nice Jeep with a lot of lights on it. And
a lot of lights on it.
To be fair, it came that way.
Yeah, I know.
That said, lockers over lights. The lights are still worth it, still worth it. But if you have to choose between your $1,000 Baja, or $2,000, actually, it's literally $2,000 for a full light bar from Baja Designs.
If you want to do it right.
If you want to do it right.
Yeah.
It's about the same price for a locker for most vehicles.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up because there was a phrase, somebody was talking to somebody in their family, I don't want to give this away, and she said, I want to get lockers on my Jeep. And he went, no. Because you will put yourself in a situation so, I mean, lockers are serious.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're good, and they will get you out of a lot of crap, but you will also feel very confident to go into a lot of crap that maybe you shouldn't be doing. But
right.
I still say lockers over lights.
So this came to mind as I was doing the washout, and I put the Raptor in 4-low, which I was literally just trying it out. That truck would have pulled it in 4-high just fine.
And in case nobody knows, on the Wabder, there was a large washout that took out a ton of the road.
It's called the Beehive washout, and now
it has a name because they haven't fixed it, and probably won't.
No, they won't.
Yeah.
They've made it passable for most vehicles, and most stock trucks or SUVs will be able to go through this, to be fair, as long as they're not super long wheelbase, and that's only because you'll bottom out the center, not because it won't do it.
We just kept talking about it, so I figured.
Yeah, and so I just was like, I haven't had really the opportunity to use the Raptor locked in low very often. And so I put it in lock, I put it in low, I put it in rock crawl mode, and I literally just let it drive over the washout. Literally. I was like, cruise control, 0.5.
Touching the wheel?
Yeah, literally. And it has like the cameras turn on, and it was the easiest thing in the world. That thing didn't skip once. Not once did I lose traction. Not even a little bit. It was literally just like slowly walking over everything I could put in front of it. Yeah. It was fun to do. That said, I mean, there was a couple of vehicles that had to get a little momentum because they were going to lose traction, and that's fine. But a locker will get you over that really steep, torquey stuff like you wouldn't believe. Having two wheels traction where they just both wheels turn at the exact same time can do so much when you're aired down properly.
And some vehicles come with them, but they're not wired in. I thought some of the Jeeps you could get them, but they weren't. You had to put your own system in, or you had to put the airlines to them.
Weird. I've never heard of that.
Okay. Well, then you can just cut that part out.
I want to research that, actually.
Because I could have sworn that I've talked. I'm thinking more of the Jeep guys and the fact that they said I need to get the airlines to run. I need to run the airlines.
Oh, a lot of people will put in lockers and not run the lines to them yet. Like they'll build them up and then because you can put it in and just not use it, and it's just a diff.
What?
Yeah. Okay. So
I'll have to look at that too because so
you can build it in stages. Which is nice.
I mean I get that. Okay.
We'll get to that in a second. Actually, there's a reason I think people do that. It can be a huge investment if you want to like go all out. Like you can run a locker with a little mini compressor and a couple of airlines and you're fine. But if you want to do it right, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Speaking of lights, though, we were in really dusty conditions yesterday. Really dusty. Like I couldn't see two car lengths in front of me at some point. And chase lights became so amazing to have. It was a little pro tip on this one, Carter Super Tip of the Week, if you may. Turn on your lights when you're off-road. Middle of the day, doesn't matter. And I don't mean all the way on. Just turn your parking lights. It makes it really there's so many different advantages to this. Not only does it like help the person behind you see you in dust, but it also lets the person behind you or in front of you watch your vehicle move. And this way you can kind of judge the speed, the bumps on the road. It just gives a lot of information to the other people around you. So chase lights are back of your vehicle, typically mounted high, and they're typically amber yellow. Now, you can get really nice rack mount ones, like a full bar for different racing scenarios if you're into that. Like they make actual race chase lights for like $500 to $5,000 depending on what class you're running in. But just some little Baja Designs S2s, really big fan of those. They have it's called a work combo light, and it's wide and it's not too blinding to the driver behind you. The pros are really cool, but you don't run the S2 pros in the back of your vehicle, otherwise you'll have like yellow high beams of the car behind you.
It pierces I remember I never knew what they were, and Trevor Stevens and I went for a drive, and we did Natchez, and we're coming down, and I always thought it was I was like, why do you have lights on the back of your car? I don't get this. And we were coming down, and I couldn't see anything, and he turned those things on, and it made it so much easier, so much more safe. You do not want regular lights. I mean, you can put other lights back there, like if you're camping and things like that, but you want an amber lens at least. Baja Design has a good job of you can get the different lenses for it.
I've looked at all of them. Those are my favorites by far. Vision X makes some really nice ones too. We can get a 20% discount for Vision X through Avance Partners.
Yeah.
The Mule, I wanted to update one more thing. The Mule discount for parts is not there anymore. It's 15% off labor, which is still a fantastic deal. Don't get me wrong. Mule is booked forever out, but there really isn't a lot of margin in this stuff, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Well, HID Kit Pros.
Yeah, HID Kit Pros, Auburn Off-Road. We still have a ton of Avance Partners with discounts on things, but I highly recommend HID Kit Pros.
A lot of people that don't want to drill holes, you can actually get a bracket that will go behind your license plate, and the lights will go there too. You don't have to drill holes or you can put them on your racks. There's just a lot of people that don't want to drill holes in the back of their car for obvious reasons.
There's a really nice Raptor-specific one that integrates into the third brake light. It's a little difficult to install, but it's made by Baja Designs, and it looks like factory on there, but it's super bright. And the higher the better on these, just so more people can see you. And like I said, they're not a navigation light. They're for the people behind you. So top of the rack is a great place. If you don't want to do that, you can wire them into the rear bumper and do it that way. Anything's better than nothing.
Just duct tape a flare to your back bumper and just light it off. You'll be fine.
No, but I can't understate the value of these. Again, these aren't essential things, but man, if you're thinking about it, like once you go on one dusty road trip, you'll be like, yep, I'm definitely doing that because I actually like people I'm with.
And I don't want to rear end them.
Yeah, but at the very least, turn on your lights. Turn on your parking lights. Now, your headlights don't really matter. That's just kind of annoying. But your parking lights do help a lot for the drivers behind you and in front of you.
And if you really want to, you can also turn on your hazards because that's something flashing. Doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt. Yeah.
The flashers actually do work. I just don't like the clicking.
There's a lot of free. Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of free options, but you'd be better to just get the lights.
Yep. Next one. This one. mine are 14 weeks out right now, and I'm really annoyed.
Sliders. We should bring hamburgers. I like this idea.
Little sliders.
Little sliders.
Bring food with you on your trip.
Absolutely.
No, I have found that in our area, I have seen more damage and more expensive damage to the sides of vehicles than I have the front and the rear.
Well, it does more damage. When you crunch the side of a vehicle, it bends into the doors, its frame, everything.
And so if you're looking at armor on your vehicle, from the factory from Subaru in their new what are they, wilderness models?
Yes,
you can get a lot of factory armor, fuel tank, differential. A lot of it comes right from Subaru.
The problem is it doesn't cover the stock ones. Don't cover a bunch of stuff. Subaru, really, I give them credit, but I forgot, like, their new skid plate does not cover the transmission.
Not as much, yeah.
It covers the headers, it covers the oil, and you can get a rear diff cover, but the transmission, like, I had to get that special cover. And believe me, there are dents in it, and it has paid off tenfold.
Yeah. So underbody armor to protect the most vital parts of your engine are the most important, in my opinion, because they will get you home. You can get body damage in your vehicle, and it's expensive, but nothing is more expensive than dropping your transmission on the trail or putting a hole in your oil pan and not being able to go home. Mm-hmm. That said, if you're looking at bumpers and your choices between bumpers and sliders, get the sliders. If you are installing a winch, the bumper is going to be necessary for a lot of vehicles that aren't doing hidden winches, although I'm seeing more and more hidden winch options, which I like. But that said, there's a lot of vehicles I'm coming across with really, really expensive damage on the side of their vehicles. And it limited me on this trip from doing things a little bit. Like there was that tight trail I was telling you about. Raptor would have done it, no problem. But I would have been like kind of pushing into stumps on the side of the truck. Now with sliders, I'm okay with pushing into stumps. It really doesn't matter.
It's almost what they're built for.
It's almost what they're built for, yeah. Or dropping down on a rock or something worse. That's where sliders really, really pay off. And they're not cheap. A good set of sliders for a full-size vehicle are often, I think the cheapest I've seen is like $800. Now I'm going to take that back. They used to be $800.
You can do $800 worth of damage in 6 seconds on a trail.
Yeah.
And double that or quadruple that. So.
Yeah. If you're looking at Brian's truck, a lot more than that. Yes. Sorry, Brian. Had to pick on you there. But that said, a good cost of materials has gone way up over the last year since the pandemic. I mean, way, way up. So I luckily got mine in early enough, the order in early enough. But a good set of sliders now is often around $1,500 to $2,000, which is crazy. But the ones for the Raptor I ordered are their body mount, because that's how the Raptor works. And then I'm going to have to modify them to add them to the frame for maximum rigidity. I think that's probably.
Do they get welded to the frame or bolted?
You can buy weld-on kind. I'm going to have mine custom made to bolt on around the frame, just like they did on the Land Cruiser.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
I remember putting those on in the parking lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So those will be body mount and frame mount. Frame mount is the way you want to go most of the time because it's the strongest part of your vehicle. If you have a unibody vehicle like a Subaru, you're limited on your options, but it's still like most of the time when you're using sliders, unless you are a big rock crawler, you're not dropping on heavy rocks that are going to bend them. You're just going to be deflecting off things at very low speed.
Actually, Subaru's there's some aftermarket really great sliders that they built that contour the body line and protect it, and they bolt into the body mounts. So,
yeah. And so if you're thinking about it, I mean, these save you so much money the first time you ever need them, and you may not even damage them the first time you use them. But if you've ever seen the bottom of your car fold, it's a terrifying sound, and everybody just goes, ooh, because they know how expensive it is.
And I'll tell you, this is a little add-on to having underbody armor. If you have a leak in your engine, it will leak in the same spot on the on the pan, which means when you drop the pan, you're going to know where the leak's coming from. So many times we have leaks in our car, and they're on the garage floor. We don't know where it's coming from. But it's a little thing. Like, it hasn't happened to me, but I've seen it happen that you pull down, you drop down the skid pan, you go, oh, look, the leak's right here.
Land Cruiser.
There you go.
My valve covers in my Land Cruiser.
That's,
we
knew exactly where it was going.
Yeah. The next one, speaking of armor, so really cheap, and I'm seeing more and more of them, is rear hitch-mounted skid plates. So for those of us with badly designed vehicles with large tailpipes because they look cool and they drag on everything because your overhang's too long, thanks Ford, we need to add skid plates on the rear. Now, you can do that the really expensive way, which is called a dovetail cut, where they literally cut the bottom of the bed and the box sides, and then you add a bumper that goes all the way down there. Looks really cool, really functional. It's the best way to go if you have that option. But you have to modify the body of your vehicle. It's not an
add-on. Lightens your bank account, too.
Right. Yeah. But for about $150, you can get a little plate that sticks into the back of your trailer hitch and just sticks down a little bit. Now, it's not perfect. It's just so that when you're coming up an angle or backing down, this thing hits before your tailpipes and your rear bumper do. Yeah. They have all sorts of different design ones. The only reason I went with mine, and it's not the one I actually wanted, was because it was, one, available, and two, highly recommended by people on the forum. It has like it's called Delrin, same skateboard wheels are made out of. It has that on the back, and that kind of slides to help it, and then it sticks into the hitch a little farther than some of the other ones, so it's a little more rigid. Well,
and those shovel ones, if you come down and get the rear end stuck, you can bring it up high enough to start spinning your wheels. So it protects it, but you can get yourself into some trouble.
Yeah. So, but if you've got a long overhang vehicle like mine, which there are a lot of them out there,
Gladiators, Raptors.
Gladiators are another good one.
Yeah.
This is a really cheap way to give yourself just a hair more protection. And then mine actually has a recovery shackle point built into it. We've talked about those in the last one.
Yeah.
That just slide into the hitch. Like I said, these things aren't great, but this is a better than nothing option. The one I wanted was like 6 weeks out. Like I said, material supplies.
Everything is.
So,
sucks.
Yeah. But and the last thing before we take our break, we're making this one longer, winches. So since that last episode, we had a winch fail. It was actually the winch on my old Land Cruiser, and that was a...
it failed gloriously.
Yeah, it exploded.
Yes.
This was a Smitty-built winch that was... It has been rated often the best budget winch, and I know a lot of people running them who have had no problems. That said, when this thing pulled the Land Cruiser when it was stuck deep, it literally broke. I mean, the drum itself broke, the metal broke. This was a failure. It actually bent the bumper as well, just from the way it failed, which no fault of the bumper. I'm a huge fan of the Descent Off-Road bumpers still.
Had it not been contained in the bumper, it could have done more damage.
A lot more damage. Yeah. And so I no longer recommend them. I don't think, like I said, I know a ton of people running them who have had no problems. But I do think there's probably more of a bad batch option than there is a bad winch. Better than nothing.
We've had a failure.
But we've had a failure, and that's very rare to say. And this was Davis and Matt aren't inexperienced. They're not stupid. They weren't like pulling completely sideways and like, why did it break? They're not that. And so that said, I'm going to go back to, I got a Warn in the Raptor. We've talked about that. It was kind of the only option for the Raptor, but it was the one I wanted anyway. And probably the most universally praised and applauded brand across the market still. Yeah. Every manufacturer, every publication, blog, test video, always shows that, the Warn is a good winch, period. That said, I've had really good luck with Super Winch. Come Up winches are what Mule carries and stand by them. They've torture tested them more than anybody probably around here.
What was the one that Brian had because he didn't want to mount it, and he could put it in the trailer hitch in the front or the back? It was on a plate.
That was a Warn plate with a Smitty-built winch.
Yeah, it was a neat option though for if you didn't want to put, because he could go front or rear, which is kind of neat.
Lift it up, pull it front and rear with it. Yeah. So, but that said, I'm just I'm moving my recommendation away from that to Warn Super Winch, Come Up winches. I just think they're a good.
And if you have a Smitty built, every once in a while, take the line out, check the spindle in there.
Yeah.
It
What
happens.
you should do with every winch when you're cleaning up after a day of off-roading, especially if it's been muddy or in the snow, you should bring out your line and re-spool it. Tie it to a tree.
Use the weight of your car.
Yeah.
We saw some post that somebody was putting their new winch on their car and they were spooling it up and they were just sitting there with their hand, and I'm like, you got to tie that to a tree.
Yeah, just wrap it around a tree with a tree saver, and then just slowly walk it with the weight. You kind of walk it with your hands across the winch spindle so that it lines up really nice.
Use a glove.
Yeah, or you can put another car or a heavy vehicle in neutral and pull it to you with somebody else in it so they can hit the brake. Yeah. But that's another way to do it if you don't have a tree handy and you've got just side of the street, another car, good to go.
Keep it tight.
Or you can put your vehicle in neutral and winch to it. Yeah, there's not much to it. You don't need a lot. Let's take our first break.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Grandpa, what do you call this thing again?
It's a 66 Ford Bronco.
I think you got ripped off.
Why is that, honey?
It's got no Wi-Fi, no USB port, no Bluetooth.
Exactly. I guess we'll just have to talk.
Sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect.
Is that the window button?
It's called a window crank.
Cool. The faster I move it, the faster it goes down.
This moment of escape was created by Haggerty.
Being old is kind of cool, Grandpa.
Works for me.
For people who love cars.
Let's talk tires.
Yeah, we're back.
Oh, okay.
Perfect timing. I wanted to leave that in.
Yeah, I was just reading your list.
Yeah. We're going to talk updates to our list this time, not new products, but updates to things we found. First one's tires, as you said. So we recommended the KO2 last time, and I still really like the KO2. I still think it's a great tire. It's a great all-around tire. That said, having winters under our belt, wet conditions, having them on the Subaru and several other vehicles,
I like them, but driving in wet conditions, like on a freeway, coming off an overpass or something like that, and turning and the car keeps going straight. I've had issues.
So have I, and so have a lot of other people. And so I still think they're a good tire for all around what they are, but I don't think they are the right choice for the Pacific Northwest.
Daily drivers, I don't think they're a good choice. They worked really well off-road in mud and snow and things like that. They've been great.
Yeah.
But like driving on the roads has been an issue.
Yeah, and from everybody I've talked to and trusted sources, the Duratrax and the Wild Peaks tend to be a better option for here. Now, if you're in a much drier climate, the South, Utah, things like that, I think the KO2 is still a fantastic tire. And the fact that it comes in a really heavy load range is great for big trucks.
I mean, but that being said, too, one of the issues with the KO2s is the fact that when it rains around here and it hasn't rained in a while and you get all the oil buildup, that's what really stops. That can happen on any tire, but I find that's when it gets even worse on those tires.
Yeah, I think it's just the way the siping is done on those tires compared to the other ones. Yeah. And I still think they will probably outlast the other tires, but I'm going to probably move to the Duratrack or the Wild Peak when I replace my tires, which is in about 6,000 miles. Yeah. Mine won't be toast at that point, but they will be to the point where I like fresh tread, and because I just use the truck a lot. So
I've got 23,000 miles on mine, I think. And I mean, and they still look pretty good. I haven't beat them too badly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm actually trying to time my tire change with the car change to see.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. I'm just moving away from that recommendation for people. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a bad tire. I just think there are better options for the area we are in.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. The next one on our last list, we had valve stem cores. This is an essential thing you should take with you. Reconsidering that, and I still think they're cheap insurance, so you should have them with you, but I don't think that tells the whole picture. More than often than not, I have found it better to have a full tire repair kit, and it's such a cheap thing to do that it is worth it to say that instead of that. So, like, again, I'm going back to ARB here because they think out of the box they make the best one, and it has the plugs, it has the tools, it even has the pocket knife with it, it has pliers, it has literally everything you need in a small case. The case is a little bigger than I want, but it's probably the most easiest.
You can get a smaller, like those plug kits.
Yeah.
We had them for the monkeys and never had to use them, but you can get them for vehicles too.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is nice.
I carry a plug kit with me, but I found that I basically remade the ARB kit on my own, and it would have been easier, not necessarily cheaper, but it would have been easier just to do the one click, get the ARB kit, and I'm done. And that would have been easier.
The ARB makes great kits for everything.
They really do.
I love my compressor. So, I mean, okay, first of all, if you've never changed a tire, go out in your driveway, take the air out of your tire, change a tire, learn how to do it, be confident with it, and look at that. Because that's the biggest thing is we've found people off-road who've gotten flat tires. They don't know what to do, and it's, learn. YouTube will teach you, but it's something, And there's times when you're going to look at it and you're going to be off-road and you're going to rip a hole in the side of your tire. You're not going to be able to repair that, but you need to know what you can fix and what you can't. And at a certain point, when you get a big enough hole in your tire that you can patch, that tire's done. So do whatever you can to get yourself back to civilization. You're going to have to replace the tire.
Yep, exactly that. So, I've got a full-size spare into the truck, which doubles as a skid plate.
Yes. Why is this rim scratched? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
The next one, I just am changing my stance on something as we see more and more products become unavailable in the U.S. due to shipping problems.
They're here. They're just sitting on ships in
the harbor.
Yeah.
But that said, we get a 15% off discount through Avance for Masterpole.
Yeah.
And one, they're local, like literally up in Bellingham, and their products are second to none. Masterpole literally makes probably the best ropes, and they've just torture tested the heck out of them. Whereas other things like, I'm naming specifically a brand that I recommended, not that because it's bad or it's failed on me at all, but Rhino USA is not made in USA.
What?
It's misleading marketing. I've talked about this on the show before, but it's bothering me more and more as products become harder to get, and we have so many good local companies.
Yeah. Again,
if this is all you have and all you can afford, I haven't had one of these fail, ever. Like we've used my soft shackles in every condition possible. They've been dirty, sandy, nasty mud, ice cold snow, never had a problem with them. That said, when we have better options that are local, you should. It's worth it to support a small company, and you'll get a better product.
I want to say this because this came up when Sarah and I were driving this weekend, and I saw a Subaru with a tow hitch in the back of it, and the same thing. There's a lot of products that are sold on Amazon, and they're required to say if they're built for off-road or if they're visual, be shackles, be tow hitches and things like that. Do not go cheap on this. There are soft shackles out there that are not, ironically, not meant to soft shackle.
Right. Yeah.
And there are tow hitches that are not meant to tow hitch. I mean, at all, or
That's
pull.
so weird, yeah.
And they break apart. So be very careful. I know a lot of us want to have the gear and things like that, but it really could end up hurting you in the end. So just, Amazon is required, and if you sell something on Amazon, I'm sure there are people that don't.
Yeah.
But you're required to say, this is not for off-road, this is for visual. It's like when you buy a product that's not for, not to be used on road, things
right.
like that.
Look at the tested strength
Yeah.
on soft shackles. You don't necessarily need like a 50,000 pound soft shackle. Those are made for like heavy industry stuff. But you do need one that's rated for at least 3 times the weight of your vehicle. Or at least 2 times, I think, is the rule. It tells you there.
When it comes to gear in your truck, and I've heard this so many times, and I get it. I go out with my buddy, and my buddy's got everything. Okay, well, that's fine. I mean, but what if your buddy is using all his soft shackles and you need an extra one? Or what if you need an extra tow rope or kinetic rope? You should have your own stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is true. So just recommending Masterpole because they are an Avance partner.
Love
I trust their stuff. ARB, Masterpole. Just go to Mule and ask them if you just want to get something right away. They almost always have a lot of these in stock. I don't think they've run out of soft shackles before. Actually, take that back. They did have soft shackles. It's how I ended up with 2 Rhino USA ones to begin with. But I just no longer recommend them. Nothing against, like I said, never had a failure. Have had no problems with mine. But this is just, it's a better option for not that much more money. Next on my list, still one of my favorite products. And you're going to see a picture of it again because I used it this weekend and it was awesome. I love my Morphlate so much.
You talk about a homemade product that somebody that took it and just it has taken off. I've seen more people use this in more videos, and you can always tell a Morphlate because it's bright green.
Yep, and that is because they use Flexzilla hoses, brass fittings. They're available in stock at Mule. I was just there and I checked, so they do have them there. And
I had an issue, if you remember back with my gauge when I got mine, and there was no question. They sent me a new gauge. It was their customer service is above the best. But you were saying they offered a new kit.
They offer a new kit now.
I actually did not know this.
I really wish I'm going to actually probably sell mine to somebody who wants it. Mine's in perfect condition, but I'm just going to upgrade because this is such a cool thing.
Only used on road, Dan?
Only used on road.
In sunny days? Yes, okay.
So they offer a stubby kit, and that's what they're calling it. Basically what it is, it allows you to disconnect the hoses from the main tee in the middle with the gauge with quick release couplers. And that's really cool because it makes it really easy to break it down a little bit smaller and replace bits and pieces in sections.
Well, this is also the only downside to Morphlate is when you have to curl it back up and get it back in its own package. But
it also makes it easier to attach a single airline to it if you want to just inflate one tire, like if you have one low tire on somebody, and without having to have another airline. Because right now I have my Morphlate kit, I have the airline that came with my ARB, and I just ordered a longer single line because I wanted to actually, of all things, I know this is going to sound funny, but you guys who've seen my truck will know this. We're done with the run. I literally hooked up my air gun to my compressor and started blowing off the engine bay in the truck. Yeah. And so I wanted a longer line to get in the bed. So,
well, the one thing I have used my Morphlate for as much as deflating is I will about every quarter I will go down and I will hook it up to all 4 of my tires and it will equalize. It equalizes the air.
Yes.
And it's
super
something
handy.
Nice. It really is super handy. And if you're mechanical, you can build your own Morphlate. But this is so much easier, and I can't tell you the amount of times Dan and I have been using it, and other people have been driving out, and they'll stop and be like, 1, can I use that? Can I please help me? Can you help me? And 2, where did you get it? So.
Same thing this weekend. Everybody was like, man, I need to get one of those. And yes, you do. It has been, like I said, this isn't a need. You can spend the time to go tire to tire to tire, but man, does it make it easier. so much easier.
That being said, though, with the Morphlate I've used, I'm saying, and we're going to get into this, having the right compressor with that, because some of these smaller, Amazon compressors can really start to overheat with the Morphlate because they're pushing all the tires at the same time.
Yep.
So
we will get into that. Yeah. So next one, speaking of right on line with this, was the Arb Easy Deflator. So I used to use the Morphlate for this, or to deflate as well.
This is the one that takes the stems out?
This one takes the valve stem out, though. And I found that it literally takes me longer to screw on the deflator than it does to deflate down to 20 psi.
I can't tell you how many times I've screwed with that, and it's just and they're great, but you think, oh, did I get the valve stem? Did I not? And then all of a sudden you pull it and they're air blasting out, and you're like, no, I didn't want to do that. So
I use it because it's fast, and it's really great to hand out to people. People are down to I can get mine done pretty quick. Moving on to the next vehicle. It's $45 for the analog one and $65 or $75 for the digital. I don't recommend the digital. Everybody has great reviews on it. It works great, but it's one of those things that it doesn't need a digital version. one of these days you're never going to check the batteries in this thing. You're going to forget about it sitting in your truck. And you're going to go to use it, and it's not going to work because you don't have AAA batteries. I mean, just use the analog gauge. It's accurate. It works. Nick's going to watch YouTube about it.
Well, no. I was literally wanted to see. I had not known about the Morphlate Stubby. Sorry, but that wasn't the intention of that. But what I was going to say is a lot of the ARB makes a lot of kits where that will come with it too. You can get their, and I think their tire kit, their replacement kit comes with it, doesn't it? Or you can get one with. I know they have. There's a couple of kits that have it built into it.
Yeah, not the compressors and not the. Yeah, they have a couple like recovery kits that come with it. But yeah, I love this thing because it easily, once you see a video of it online, it physically removes the valve stem core. So, like I said, I lost 18 psi intentionally in about 5 seconds. Just let it go, just done. And like I said, it takes me longer.
And the valve stem can't come out. Like everybody thinks that it holds it in there. So
yeah, so it's a really ingenious design, and it is the gold standard.
Yeah.
You want to talk compressors?
So this is a figure out what works best for you.
Yeah.
When I was searching for a compressor for the Subaru, I initially was thinking ARB, single scroll, single tank. I was going to put it under the seat. And then I found the ARB suitcase, the small suitcase, which works so much better because I can take it from car to car. Compressors are something that not only do you have to get the right compressor for you, do your reviews. I see a lot of people that take these compressors and they produce a lot of heat.
Yep.
And they're putting them in very small spaces, like under seats and things like that. That's one of the reasons I didn't, is because I was going to get one and put it under the seat, and I was out at Mule, and they were like, do not do that. The seat where the Subarus sit, there's not enough air in there. You're going to have issues. But there's a ton of heat in there. And I'll tell you this, there's a lot of people that put them under the hood, and they work great, and they don't touch them again. These things need to be serviced. They need to be cleaned. They need to be, it's something that you as funny as it is, you need to take an air compressor, plug your air hose in, and blow out your air compressor because it needs to be done.
Yeah, it has an intake. It has filters, so you got to service them. So especially if it's under the hood, you're going to need to do this a lot in the dirt. It is nicer on board. You can get faster onboard compressors because you can add a bigger air tank when it's an onboard compressor. That said, as Nick mentioned, I like to bring mine from vehicle to vehicle, and when I'm done with it, I can hand it off to the next guy. Here's my Morphlate. Here's my compressor. You'll be good to go in about a minute.
What'd you get? What's your new? You got a new one, right?
Yep, I've got the ARB twin scroll in the case.
Yeah, in the suitcase.
Which is
which has an even better, bigger. That's the thing about yours. Yours has a tank.
Yep.
Mine does not really have a tank.
Yeah, mine has the big tank, which in my Raptor with 35, or they're actually like 34.5-inch tires, I went from 20 PSI all the way up to 38 in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is really quick. Just put it all, it took me longer probably to hook everything up and get it all stationized, and flip the switch, walk away, watch the gauge, done.
Yeah.
Super easy. So that said, the ARB one, I went all out because I have had so many compressors. It's like, forget it. I'm going to do it once. I'm going to do it right. I'm going to be done. But
well, you had the dual compressor for the Cruiser. We just never put it in.
It was built in.
Oh, you did build it in. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I wanted something I could move around.
Yeah.
But it's $900, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
There's no discounts. They're really hard to find. Nobody's going to give you a deal on one of these because nobody has them in stock. I think Mule has one actually left. So by the time you hear this, it's probably gone. But try them. But yeah, $900 compressor kit. That's a lot for some people. For me, I love going off-road. I love going to the track. I mean, these are great for cars, too. It's heavy. It's in a heavy-duty case. It's sealed. ARB didn't skimp anything on this thing. For me, it was worth it. For you, it might not be, and that's okay. If you don't have $900 to spend on an air compressor, the next one that works is way cheaper. That is actually the Smittybilt. It has a flaw, a really big flaw you need to know about ahead of time, but it's a good-sized volume compressor. It works every single time, and it'll inflate big tires. That one's $200. You can get it at 4-Wheel Parts locally. No discount on that. You can usually find a 10% coupon for signing up for an email. That'll save you $20. But it doesn't come with a standard NPT D-type fitting, which is, for all of you out there, what does that stand for? National Pipe Tapered. In color coding, there is a new standard for fittings. It's red, so I highly recommend the Color Connects connectors, but you have to swap out that fitting on the tube. And if you look at the Amazon reviews, there's even pictures of people doing it. It's super easy to do. You need a hose clamp and a barbed fitting, and you cut the hose, you put it in, you're done. But it's stupid that Smittybilt does that. But what do you expect for $200 instead of $900?
And you can have these suitcases and build them into your cars. I've seen it happen. The fact that the cars are plumbed, and you basically put the suitcase in the part of the car, it plugs in and powers, and then you plug the hose in, and it's good. Like, you can do that, but it's just nice to have the availability to take it out.
Yeah, and I've seen guys turn that into a suitcase kit using the Harbor Freight Apache. What do you call them? The hard cases.
Yeah.
and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so you can make your own kit, add your own air tank. You can do all that if you're a little crafty. There's lots of YouTube videos on doing it. But the reason I recommended the Smitty built one is it's rated for higher size or bigger size tires. And so you can easily fill a 37-inch, 35-inch tire with those, and you can't with a lot of the other ones. It's a lot of stress on the other ones.
ARB you can.
Yeah.
I was going to say ARB is rated for...
The twin scroll ARB is rated for 35 and up.
Yeah.
The single scroll is rated up to 33, but we know it'll do more. For the record, we've filled 35-inch tires with the small one. It just gets pretty toasty.
It's wonderful in winter.
Yeah.
Keep your hands warm, but yeah.
But a little pro tip, look for Color Connects fittings, by the way. Even if you're doing home air compressors, they're really handy because they can show you the different sizes just by quickly looking at them. Great if you have a ton of air tools.
Agreed.
And they're really good quality.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Airing down. This is not a gear tip, but this is a tip of the week. Like I said, we got a bunch from this episode. Airing down is not just for when you're stuck. Airing down is not just for snow. Airing down is for terrain of all kinds. And basically, the lower you go, the slower you go. But when we did the backcountry discovery route in the Raptor or any of the vehicles that were with us, none of us actually had to air down to complete the trip. We didn't face any obstacles that would require us to go down really low in PSI for more traction. The reason we all aired down is because it is so much more comfortable to ride a really rough road with softer tires. And so I don't think any of us went over probably 30 on that whole route. I mean, once we got off the pavement.
Yeah.
And so I first aired down to 25, and then I aired down to 18. And 18 was the sweet spot for my Raptor in those. And it made the biggest difference on my back, on the way the truck drove. It's the way to go. So if you're in really rough terrain, just air down. Street tires, even then, if you have enough sidewall, it's okay. I worry about those more because the sidewall isn't meant to take that kind of abuse off-road, whereas, like, again, an advantage of a real off-road tire is the sidewall can take some sharp rocks and edges and it won't puncture. Yeah. Street tires aren't designed for that. They're designed for comfort, and they flex a lot already. So you want to get a good stiff sidewall tire to do that.
And if you don't know, airing down increases your traction patch.
Yep.
Basically, you're getting more tire on the ground. You can air down too far and hurt yourself. And you do not want to go, like Dan said, you do not want to go too fast because you can end up, turning the wheel in the tire. You can rip the tire up, things like that. Yeah.
Airing down is a slow speed thing. You don't, unless you have bead locks and you have special racing wheels designed for that, like, Baja trucks run a lower pressure and a bead lock, and they do, 100 miles an hour all day, but that's a special application for
also,
you and me.
That's not legal on the street.
Right. It's also not legal. Yeah. But for you and me and everybody else, I tend to, you can go safely all the way down to like 10 PSI if you're going really slow, like in the snow.
Yeah.
You can probably even go lower than that if I'm being honest, but that's all I'm going to recommend for 99.9% of you is 10 is probably the lowest you want to go.
And truthfully, if you have an aftermarket tire or tires on your car that came with your truck or whatever, you can do some research, and there will be information out there on what you can air down to, because a lot of these companies know you're going to be airing down these tires. Yeah. So they've tested it.
And it depends on your rim design as well and how it sits. Who's the AEV? AEV wheels are really well designed for that. There's a bunch of aftermarket off-road wheels.
They've got something built into the rim that grabs onto the tire.
Yeah. A lot of them have like a little ribbing on the inside of the wheel, which is actually a race thing it's a race car technology, but it actually works great for off-road wheels too, and it just kind of holds onto the tire so it doesn't slip in the rim.
Yeah.
The next one's a fun update.
Okay, I didn't know about this, but wow, that's yikes, expensive.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of people were surprised. Nobody who's done it out there is surprised, but electric chainsaws work fantastic around here. Mm-hmm. We don't really run into massive clearing obstacles. If you are into that, if you want to blaze trails, you're going to need a gas-powered chainsaw, period.
You can do it you're just going to need a lot of batteries.
You're going to need a lot of batteries, and at $200 a battery for the big 60-volt, you're going to need you're going to be into this anyway.
Yeah.
But our good friends at Stihl came out with a fuel-injected chainsaw.
And all you have to do is sell one of your children, maybe two.
Yeah, it's about $1,400, but it's super easy start, and it'll work at all elevations. And if you want something that'll run all day, like you're the first guy up the Wabder, and you're real proud of that, and you want to clear every tree in your way, hey, people got money around here. I'll give them options.
I think it's going to be interesting to see about this because, we're so used to seeing like the classic Stihl chainsaws that are the guys are logging that are dropping on
this thing comes up into a 28-inch bar.
Okay. I want to see how well it holds up. I mean, I think it's going to be great. I mean, especially for people like us, but like actual people that are going to use it on a daily basis, I think it'll be interesting to see how it I know they've tested it.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm always skeptical. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm watching these logging guys, drop their chainsaws, 30 feet and be like, well, it's going to start up when I get down there. But
yeah.
So
I mean, $1,400 is it's a lot of money for a chainsaw. But I mean, hey, compared to if you're looking at a commercial chainsaw, which this is under their commercial division, this is not like what they don't have this listed under their residential saws.
Okay.
This is pretty good pricing and a lot of new. New gas-powered equipment is fuel injected now. We're seeing lawnmowers fuel injected, things like that. It's happening. That said, 2024 needs to be illegal in a lot of places, including California. So, I mean, sorry guys down there, but I mean, electric is working, getting better, but
yeah, but in California, if you steal it under $1,000, it won't be illegal.
But yeah, so just an update on chainsaws. I finally found one that's fuel injected that'll work.
I will say this is something I learned when I got my Dewalt, and even though it's battery powered, sorry. Chainsaw maintenance is important.
Yeah.
Making sure that you have not only oil in a gas-powered or oil and gas, but the chainsaw lube. That's another thing that you need to get. So many people buy chainsaws and then they don't realize that there are lubing systems built into these.
Even electric ones, yeah.
Even electric ones, which I was surprised when I bought mine. And the guy's like, well, you're going to need this. And I was like, oh, you're trying to upsell me. He's like, no, you're going to want to need this so you don't have to buy another one of those.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That said, there is another thing with that. The Dewalt chainsaw, which we recommended, which is a great saw, don't get me wrong, has a fatal flaw on the filler. And I think you mentioned this on an episode a while back. I want to remind people of it. It drives me nuts. I fixed it. Yeah. It leaks, and but it has a ridge cut out for an O-ring. Mm-hmm. And if you just go to your hardware store with your chainsaw, bring it, they'll know. Anybody who sells Dewalt saws knows about this or has looked at one. They all leak from the chain bar oiler fitting.
Yeah,
but there's a spot
for this weird cap that closes on itself.
And so it needs an O-ring, and so you can store it on its side with that facing up, and that'll stop it from leaking because it's electric. It doesn't need to be and there's no fuel, so it can just put it on its side.
Yeah.
But that said, you can fix it with a $1 O-ring from your hardware store and stop it from leaking all over everything all the time. But you should know that ahead of time. It will leak. I've said it once. I'll say it again. Get the O-ring before you just if you're buying the saw, you're buying the O-ring.
Yeah.
Think about that ahead of time.
And something on the electric saws, they don't make a lot of the chainsaw boxes to fit the electric saws. No. So I had to actually get a Husky box and customize it, which you can do. I mean, yeah. And the neat thing is when you have to customize it and cut a bunch of the plastic, you have a chainsaw to do that. So,
right, which is fun.
Yeah.
Recovery boards. This is an update that pissed me off. Okay, so I still love my ARB Tread Pros. They are a good recovery board. I still stand by that if you can get any cheap boards, they are better than no boards, and you can have all the snobs you want. But if you just drive really slowly on recovery boards, most of them will do the job for the light-duty stuff.
ARB's got them, and so does, what's the classic one?
MaxTrax.
MaxTrax has them now where the one place you will wear out recovery boards is right when you drive onto them, because that's when a car gets stuck and it starts to burn through them, and you can replace the studs on those. Yeah. But I absolutely, and Dan and I haven't talked about this, but I have a soapbox on the ARB system that keeps the stuff on there because the clamps are plastic, they don't lock well, and they break from being on the roof in the wind.
That is correct. Throwing ARB under the bus, which I rarely do because I love all their products, but this Tread Pro mount system is 100% garbage that should never have been allowed to be on the market. They're literally dangerous.
Also, if the caps break, you can't buy one new cap. You have to buy a whole new set.
Mine broke.
I'm with you.
Before I even put them on.
Yeah.
And I have this thing sitting in my garage. I got to return it, but that should never be allowed on the market. The ARB Tread Pro mounts are 100% garbage. Get the MaxTrax ones and write ARB. I actually wrote them a letter. It's like, what are you guys doing? Like, you have all these great products, and this is not up to anybody's quality standards. The plastic is so cheap, you can break it in your hands. With your hands.
MaxTrax pins, if you can get them mounted on your roof, will work with ARB boards.
Yes.
ARB has the slots in them, so...
Yep. So nothing wrong with the boards themselves, but the mounts are one of the worst design products I have ever seen, and they are dangerous to mount on the side of a vehicle. Because if the wind catches them, it will pull those boards off and break those mounts. Yeah. It should never be allowed on the market.
That's actually the reason I don't have my basket on it right now, because I've got literally the mounts are mounted to my basket with zip ties because I can't. That they broke in the middle of everything.
Mine are physically bolted on. Yeah, because I have a cool extruded aluminum rack, and I literally have two bolts. Yeah. Holding and they're Loctited on because I don't use them that often. When I do, I have the tools in my truck to pull them off. Yeah. So, and I always carry a little bottle of Loctite with me. But
and I mean, another thing is like the ARB ones are supposed to lock, and because they're for safety, but you could literally just pull them off.
I did.
It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Yeah. Dan, it's funny because Dan and I did not talk about that, but I've hated those since the beginning.
Yeah,
so.
And there's not really a good, like, it's not a normal, like, threaded thing, so I can't just replace it with some other part that would fit. It's just useless.
You can take those and you can put a nut on them, but it will take you forever to get it off. I had to do that in a pinch when they broke, but yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, 100% do not recommend those. You get the MaxTrack mounts. This has been a big one for me lately because I've been trying to find the right storage system for my truck. And there's so many options out there. And I started looking, and there's so many of these like overlanding specific storage boxes and the way they mount and all this. And then I was in my garage.
But it's got a sticker on it that says overlanding, so it's got to be good.
Right. There's and they're fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with most of the storage systems I've found. I haven't found one that's inherently bad. But you know what is so much freaking better? And this is actually on our original list, by the way. I didn't even realize it until I was reviewing the list today, which will be, you guys will see this published at the time of the episode, is the Dewalt Tough boxes. And there's other boxes. Milwaukee makes them too, but it's the Dewalt ones specifically. And the reason I recommend the Dewalt ones over all of them.
Tough system, right?
Tough System 2.0. Yeah. Not the 1.0, the 2.0. The 1.0 had the latches were all metal and they would rust.
Yeah.
These don't. And I torture tested one, and I'll tell you how in a second. I mean, really torture tested one. So these things, they stack together really nicely, but the polyurethane, they're plastic, but what they use, the resin or whatever it is probably the toughest stuff I have ever seen in my life.
Well, I think it's the same stuff they build their drills and stuff out of. Like, it's got to be.
I don't know, but I used one as a stool. I used one to lift up my trailer. I have one bolted to the front of my little trailer that has been sitting outside because of my shop space. And it has been through rain, ice, snow, sand, dust, everything, and that thing stays bone dry inside.
They seal well. I mean, and I know it doesn't matter, but they look good.
They lock,
like I said,
really
and they
easy.
lock together really nicely. The only difference if I Dewalt is the Milwaukee makes the same thing, and they're strong as can be. But I love the system. If it makes you feel better, we use one to store our gear, our podcasting gear in. So
I just keep looking over and over and over again. Unless you have a really specific use case, like I know a lot of people like to run the long cases on the top of their racks. Yeah. Dewalt doesn't have one of those. And for those, if you want the best out there, look at Pelican.
I was going to say it's Pelican, or there's another company out there that does that they're huge into it.
Rome?
I think it's Rome.
Yeah. There's a couple of them out there. So the only thing, these won't fit as long cases, but if you need a standard square case.
That too.
And because of their standard size, they actually fit in the back of my Raptor and any F-150 with what do they call it? There's like a management system in the bed where they have kind of ribs built into the sides of the bed, and that'll fit a 2x8 right down, and you can just slip it in there.
Okay.
And in the third position, it fits perfectly between that and the tailgate of the truck.
Well, that's nice.
It doesn't move an inch. And so you can fit two of them sideways with a little bit of space in the middle in the standard width. But so I made a mistake on the Wabder.
What?
No. So it was an installation mistake. I got a bed mat in the back of my truck, and I really like the bed mat, but it catches between the bottom of the tailgate and the tailgate itself.
It looks really good.
Yeah, well, I'm returning it, and I'm ordering a different one. I'm still getting a bed mat, but I'm getting the one that doesn't fit that crease across the middle.
Okay.
Because what happened is the tailgate didn't secure completely.
Oh.
And so I had that case back there, and I had my chainsaw back there. Both of them were bungee corded down, so they didn't go anywhere, but the tailgate popped down while I was driving. And I actually didn't notice it until like just a couple of miles later. I didn't go very far.
Because it was a soft open, too.
Yeah, soft open tailgate. I didn't even hear it. And everything's bouncing around out there. I didn't hear anything. But I got that thing covered in dust, like the whole thing. And everything in the case, everything in my cases was good as new.
Yeah.
And I got home, and I literally just hosed it off with the pressure washer when I pressure washed the truck. Problem solved. So anyway.
I mean, at the end of the day, get the case that works for you and price-wise. But, I mean, go to Home Depot. You can go to Home Depot. You can go to Mule. I mean, Home Depot's going to have this stuff in stock because
lifetime warranty.
This is the stuff that contractors are using, and they're using it to keep their stuff safe, to keep it clean. So.
Yep. So as much as I want to recommend some specialized solution, I am so impressed with the way these things work.
And there's nothing wrong with the Rome boxes.
No, nothing at all.
It was Rome. I looked it up. Those are the nicest
great.
stuff you
really
can get.
Nice stuff. Yeah.
I will say this,
but they're not $60.
I've seen a lot of people using Yeti, and I think that's major overkill. But using Yeti coolers and stuff like that and bolting them, so don't. Yeah.
Cool flex? I don't know. Yeti's nice stuff. Don't get me wrong. It's good quality, but
it's not built to be bolted and flexed around. It's built to keep things cold and you start drilling holes and things like that, you're going to lose that.
And I did bolt down these on the trailer. The Dewalt case, I have the big tall one, and it is bolted down, and that thing's been through everything.
Can you lock them when they're together?
You can lock them together so they're secured to each other.
Yeah, but
and they hold really well.
But can you lock them so that somebody can't come up and take them?
I never tried.
I thought there was something in there that allowed it to do that. But I know you can lock them closed big time, but I didn't know if they locked because
they stack together.
The difference is they not only stack together, but there's a mount in the middle that flips up that secures the box as well.
Yeah, they're really secure when they're latched together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're secure in their latchings. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Finally, this is where that crazy story I came in, and you guys are going to laugh your asses off at this. Guess what I saw driving up Section 3 of the Wabder this weekend?
I don't know. What was it, Dan?
A Tesla Model S.
What?
Yeah.
Why? I mean,
it was damaged. It was damaged.
You talk about not wanting to poke the bottom of that or put a rock in. Oh, my God.
A Model S, not a Y, not an SUV-looking thing. No, a Model S.
Wow.
We're driving up the trail, and I'm like, is that a Tesla? And at this point, we had aired down. I had it in four-wheel auto. A lot of us had hit four-wheel drive already. This was not a spot where you literally got the directions wrong. Somebody who is out of their freaking mind just kept going. He turned around and kept going. Yeah. He had damage in the back and damage on the sides. He'd clearly dropped because the Wabder is what I would consider an easy route for any off-road vehicle with clearance. But you need clearance. I mean, just because of the rocks in the road and ruts, it's not a hard trail. Like, you could do it in a stock Outback, no problem, as long as you didn't do the washout. You might have a little trouble there, maybe. But if you had good tires, you could probably do it anything with clearance. But this is not a vehicle with clearance.
Okay. Wow.
And so we saw him all the way out by the horse ranch, which is like maybe the halfway point of the Wabder.
Wow.
Now, there's another side road that comes up there from 97, but it is not any easier than any other section of the Wabder.
Well, what is it? What did we see up there when we came? Remember, we came to that Y. We were waiting for the truck, and there was a car that went through. It was like a Hyundai or something.
You could take a small SUV up there, a city SUV, and you'd be okay if you were careful. But this thing had it was low. It rear end had clearly dropped onto a rock or something just from the normal road.
Oh my God! You have a video of this?
Yeah, I got on the dash cam and I hit the save button immediately. I have it on my GoPro because I did a time lapse of the whole thing.
Save.
I'm like, and we were all like on the road, like, did you guys just see a Tesla?
Wow, that is incredible.
Yeah,
I mean,
that is not a testament to Tesla's strength. That was just a plain terrible idea.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of breaking things on a normal car, but the fact of the matter, you come down wrong on a Tesla and pierce a battery, you're done.
And it's got plates and armor, but it's going to go. This is not the place to test those. Like, you're not.
That's meant if you slide off the freeway and hit something that way. That's not meant to be. Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, outside of like a literal sports car, I can't think of anything worse to take on an off-road route.
Wow. I mean,
yeah.
I can't even imagine. Wow, that is incredible.
I mean, I'm sure the traction system is probably great for that because you've got all that torque, but what a terror. It's just, we were laughing.
I mean, yeah.
It's like, okay.
I think that seems to be a thing, though. People that with Teslas that think they can go places they can't. I don't understand that. Like, I have seen more way up dirt roads and things like that. Or
my first thought was like, is it stolen and he's just trying to get rid of it?
Yeah.
But this is the middle of the day on a Sunday. This is busy up there.
Can you steal a Tesla? Wouldn't they exactly know where you are at all times?
I mean, you can still steal one if you have access to the card, and I mean, it'd be the worst car to steal ever. But it's still, it was just like, what in the? But it did make me think of something else.
Yeah.
It did inspire some thought. Besides, this guy is stupid, but
it's a good thought.
One of the things I've seen and a trend, and I know you'll get me on this.
Yeah,
there seems to be like this weird, not just a hobby competition to who can have the most stuff on their car and never use it.
It's funny you say that because, and part of it was the boards and stuff like that. But I took my rack off because I kept driving around with my wheel and stuff like that, and I wasn't using it, and I felt kind of like a poser.
Right.
There's so many. I mean, there are so many. I mean, I use my stuff, but it was like sometimes it's just you feel like it screws up my gas mileage. But there was a part of me that was like, I haven't used this in like 2 months. I should probably take this off just because it doesn't make sense to have it on there. Like I can put all this stuff in my car when I want to go, but I cannot tell you the amount of people that I see driving around here with nice rigs that you can tell have never seen dirt. And if you want to do that, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm not telling anybody how to not spend their money, but this is the point I want to bring up, so you got right, is that the fact is you're really just hurting your mileage, and you're making a bit of a target on your car for thieves.
Absolutely.
Which is seriously on the rise here. Big time. Crazy high on the rise. This car theft and car vandalism is going through the roof in Washington, and you should know that and be aware of that as you add all these really expensive accessories to your car.
And I hate to say this, and this is not a political statement, but it's going to get worse because there's a lot of police as of this week that are not on the job anymore, so things are going to get worse, guys.
Yeah, we're expected to lose about 30% of the force is what I've heard.
Yeah.
So, which is sad, but that's a different topic.
Yeah, but I'm from a safety standpoint, you really need to protect your stuff these days.
Yeah. So just be aware of that as you're bolting all this stuff to your vehicle. I admit I've been guilty of it. I'm starting to trickle down my efforts. Like a lot of the stuff I usually carry in my truck, I'm keeping kind of minimal. I have my mini compressor. I'm going to carry my ARB one, a tire patch kit, and my jump starter. That all fits under the rear seat. That's about it. That's all I carry now.
Well, this stuff is meant to be compact and small so that you can take it in and out. It's just like your camping gear. You don't walk around with your camping gear all the time in your tent. Your tent is small so you can take it places. So you will be a target, and Dan's right. I mean, you see a nice rig sitting on there. I mean, I do it in not even a criminal way. When I see a nice rig on the side of the road, I want to know what they've got in it. Do they have an iPad on the dash? What's going on? Where are their lockers? Things like that. So, yeah.
So strip it down as you end your trips. I know it can be kind of a pain, but I'm just consider it a friendly warning. It's on the rise, even out here, even where I'm in the sticks. I mean, it's just unfortunately the world we live in. Keep that in mind.
Get a bunch of the tough system boxes. Put everything in the boxes, and then you can just put the boxes in there and go.
Grab and go.
Yeah.
Then I guess a closing thought, is one of the other things I see, and this isn't a, how do I say this? I'm not trying to challenge anybody on their decision at all. In fact, buy whatever you want. It's fun. Cars are our hobby. That's why we do this. But there's a bit of a keeping up with the Joneses thing around here. We all know it. What? I know, right? I highly recommend you look at what you're buying and what you want to do. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Be honest with yourself about your budget, about your vehicle choice. All of us want the new Raptor Bronco when it comes out because it's cool. Probably won't ever need it to any of its extent. The basic off-road one will do great. I still say there's almost nothing that can beat a Jeep off-road, even a stock one, not even a Rubicon for what you want to do. The lockers are great.
Maybe not that electric one, but
maybe not that for range anxiety.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like Subaru's got their new Wilderness editions, and I was out on the Wabder all the way through. If that is your idea of fun, you go out with us. You want to go out. The resale on a Subaru is fantastic.
Yeah.
Resale on almost every off-road vehicle is fantastic. The standard Tacoma, standard Jeep, any of the Raptors, and the Broncos, I'm sure, coming up. But you can change your mind. But if you're just getting your feet wet, and it might sound fun to go all in and get a big Raptor, but like there was a time, like I was telling you with Fernando, I actually had to hop out of my truck. Like I probably had one of the most capable off-road vehicles you could buy off the showroom floor. Just plain didn't fit. It's the wrong vehicle for the job for exploring trails. I knew that when I got into it. I'm more of an exploring driver than I'm a technical driver. Can do both, but I prefer to see what, I want the big views. But that said, his vehicle was a much better choice for the Wabder than mine. By far. And I know that. Like, there's no shame in that. It's just that look at what you want to do. Go out with your buddies. And if you're getting into this, you want to be like, that sounds like a lot of fun. Gaurav, get a truck.
Gaurav, get a truck.
And go see what works. I mean, his GX460 was, I think he had tires. Yeah, that's it. That's it. And he did the entire Wabder he could have done with his eyes closed.
We said it earlier. If you're in the Avance community, if you're in the car community, and you know somebody that has this, ask them to go for a drive. Go up there with them. See what if you were driving that car, what you would be willing to do. Because at the end of the day, you don't need to go out and buy a Jeep. If all you want to do is go down Forest Service roads with your Subaru, you don't need that. And when you look at this list, all this stuff is really neat to have, and it's really fun to have. And I mean, Dan and I look for opportunities to use our chainsaws and things like that. But at the end of the day, realize what your limitations are. What scares you? Where do you want to be? And like I always say, I'm surrounding myself with people that I know that if we get in trouble, every single one of that vehicles can get us out of there if we need to.
Yeah.
And you want that, because if you're driving with somebody and they've got all the gear and you don't, and then for some reason they're gone and you can't get out, you got a problem. So look in the mirror and go, what do I want to spend? How stupid do I want to be? How extreme do I want to be?
Yep.
I love watching a guy with a built Jeep. I'm on a trail and he wants to get around me and drop into this gully that I think nobody can drive in and be able to drive through. But he built that truck for that reason.
Yeah.
So
very cool, but that's not my thing. I'm like, as fun as that is, I don't want to have to work on something all the time. I just want to get in and drive.
I'd love to drive one of those. I do not want to own or maintain one of those.
Right.
So
yeah. And I'm going to Moab this weekend, which the Raptor still not ideal for. It's really not the best place for it. The Baja, the California desert, the Nevada desert, that's where the Raptor's great. But it's also really great on the road.
Yeah.
Which we talked about earlier. It's a fantastic driver.
Comfortable.
Super comfortable all the way to Moab in one day. No problem. Mm-hmm. I was talking to my good friend Matt, and I was talking to Cameron, and Matt is just getting into off-roading. So he's been a motorcycle guy, and he's a hunter. So for him, it makes sense, but he's just going up Forest Service roads. But he's got this new to him, older 4Runner, which is in beautiful condition, by the way. And he put basic lift tires, and he's going to get, I gave him some recommendations for an air compressor just in case he needs to get stuck, some traction boards. That's all I'm going to recommend he gets. He's not going to get the value out of all the other stuff. He might, the more he comes and hangs out with us. But Cameron and I were talking, and he's got a Tacoma TRD Pro. And because he bikes all the time, he's a big mountain biker. And he was saying, I'm not going to get into overlanding because it's just so expensive. And it'll do 99% of what I ever even dream of doing right off the showroom floor.
Yeah.
And it's a Toyota Tacoma, so he's not going to lose any money.
It's fun to have the toys. And if you look at Dan and I's trucks, or Subaru and trucks, recovery boards are probably a good example. Why do I have them on the outside of my car? Because when I use them and they're dirty and nasty, I don't have to put them back in my car.
Right.
I mean, that's truthfully the only reason they're on my roof rack is because I don't want to put them back in the car when I've used them. Also, why is my tire on top? It's because when I take all my other stuff and put it in the car, there's no room for the extra tire in the car. It all has a purpose to it. It looks cool. And don't get me wrong, and I'm the first one to make fun of the Subaru community. There's a lot of people out there that drive around with their stuff that have never seen dirt, and it looks cool to have the wheel on top, and it's always got to be in the best spot so it looks good for the photos. I get it, believe me.
Yeah.
But and also your tire should be on your roof. That should be in a good balanced spot, just so we're clear. Because I've seen some come off the back. Yeah.
Yeah. And my rack is bare when I go into the off-road stuff because I want it all easy access in the bed of the truck.
Dan has a bare rack. I can tell you that right now. So it's a bare rack. So yeah.
Yeah. I just don't want anybody to be discouraged as they see all this gear and all this money. Like I said, we had a bone stock older 4Runner with us. It did the entire trail with very minimal effort, and just two great people driving it, having a good time. That didn't need to spend an extra $5,000 on gear.
If you're looking to do this, write us. Come find us.
Yeah,
we're going to be going up in the mountains. I mean, we've got
we're just getting into that.
We got a good amount of stuff. I mean, as I've talked about 100 times, I cannot wait to try out my BioLite fireplace. I want to get deep in the mountains and try that out.
We got a grill.
We got a grill.
We'll feed you.
We have got a griddle now too.
We do have a griddle.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we want to try all this stuff out. I mean, and we'll get you on the list as far as, if you want to come out with us. It's, usually all we say is, come on, put in a little bit of gas. We'll take you up in the mountains with us. It'll be fun. See what you think, and figure out what you want.
Yeah.
I mean, and don't feel bad about not being able to know what you want. I mean, since I bought the Subaru, I've been trying to figure out what the heck I'm going to get next. So who knows?
Yeah, try it all. We've had this conversation endlessly with our friends that are really into cars. Carl.
And we will forever.
Yeah. And he's still not decided on what he wants next.
Well, he bought the Crosstrek, which I think was a good buy, but now that he's retired, who knows?
I think he might be buying another Subaru.
It's a possibility.
With the new Wilderness Editions and dogs, so much easier to load him in and out of the back. I mean, for him, that's a big deal, and I love his dogs.
Got to get my hands on a Wilderness Edition to see it. I want to see. I want to see what we can do with lifts and tires and things like that, because I watched somebody lift one.
That's got 9 inches of clearance.
The problem is with lifted, it gets aesthetically it doesn't look good, and you end up the wheel well comes together, and you're going to end up with an issue with the wheel with width.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, I'm glad Subaru's listening. There's going to be a Wilderness Forester. I've seen photos of that already. There's a Wilderness Crosstrek that's coming, which is good, because I don't know why they didn't start with the Crosstrek, because that's the car that more people do. But the people are listening. It's just, I don't know if I will say this. I don't know if I trust the stock parts from companies like this. And I'm not saying this just for Subaru. I'm talking about some of the interesting things that are coming out for the Bronco. So
yeah, and I mean, I guess the Subaru drawback is just, I mean, it's a unibody car, so you do have articulation is going to be a big drawback, and the lack of the low range, which both came in handy on this drive.
And lockers and power.
Right.
I mean, there's not a lot of power. That's the biggest thing.
It's getting better.
Yeah, it's getting better. I mean, and probably knowing, and speaking of this, and this is a pretty good example for me, knowing what I wanted to do with that car, I shouldn't have gotten a 6-speed. I should have gotten the automatic, and I think I would have done a lot better. But I still have enjoyed it immensely. It's funny because this weekend, Alan let me drive his NSX, and he drove my Subaru. And I was
yeah.
And I was catching up to him, and I'm like, boy, this NSX really drives fast. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm having to do a lot to catch up to my own Subaru. So kind of drove the pants off of it. So, yeah, it was fun.
That's hilarious. NSXs are great.
Yeah. Oh, that was fun. Yeah. So, we're always here for, to talk. I mean, people message us all the time. Dan's really good at as far as responding to those messages. Half the time, by the time I see him, Dan's already responded. But we come to the Avance Off-Road events. We're here. We did this whole thing, Rain City, to be an information source. Let us. We'll go out and buy something and break it. We'll tell you. Yeah. Sure.
A couple of Avance events coming up. Just a quick Dirtfish Rally School full day class, rear wheel drive. That's November 4th. I don't know if it's sold out yet. I don't think it is.
I think there were 3 or 4 spaces as of Saturday.
There's a 20% discount, which is better than Black Friday for Dirtfish.
And apparently Dirtfish's prices are going up next year. So it's time to get in there. Yeah.
Everybody's prices are. Yeah. Next on the list, I was surprised to see this, but I'm pretty excited about it. That is Gas and Guns at Security Gun Club.
That'll be fun.
Yeah,
that's always good.
If people don't know, John Fowler is he was one of the thugs at
Original Thugs.
Original Thugs at Exotics at Redmond Town Center. He's a big McLaren Club guy.
I forgot how many thousands of miles he's got on his.
50,000.
50,000 on his It's not 675 LT. It's
650.
650. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so he's a McLaren Club hosts out of there very often. If you are into shooting, it is the best range around, hands down. Fantastic place to go. Tons of fun. Sorry if that's not your thing, but
if it's not your thing and you're looking to get into it or learn something about it, they're very good at teaching you.
Yep.
I mean,
they just hired more people actually, so I just saw the intro to handgun classes there. But yeah, education is everything with guns. We highly support that. Don't buy a gun if you don't have the education, please. Please, please, please don't do that. I know what you're right, but please get educated.
We don't talk about it much, but if you have questions about pew-pews, Dan and I are always open to talking about it.
Yeah, we'll send you to the right people too. Yeah. So, those are the main things. I guess north on the 7th, beautiful drive through Woodinville, Northwest Idea House Tour and Drive. That is a fundraiser. Make sure you check that out. And then Seattle International Auto Show. I know Avance will be set up there. Yeah. Sorry, we have to laugh.
It's just,
the auto show just isn't what it used to be.
No.
If you're shopping for a new car, it's cool, I guess. But I don't know. Like I said, that's probably more us. We're just really, really, really spoiled to be able to pick up the phone and be like, I want to see this. Okay,
here you go. So,
yeah.
If your kid likes cars, take him to the International Auto Show. It's fun.
It's great for kids.
That is the only place where you should be going to a car show like that and getting in the cars and things, because
that's it.
It's it.
And last but not least, if this episode got you excited, Avance Off-Road, November 20th. That is 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Of course, we will be there with our big tent.
It's every third weekend, every third Saturday.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah.
Every third Saturday.
Yeah.
And, of course, we will have our heater, which is...
and our BioLite fireplace.
And our fireplace.
Actually, I got to check to make sure we can do that.
And I usually bring a cooler full of water and soft drinks and nothing else.
Nope. Water and soft drinks.
That's it. That's all we offer.
It is. Yep.
Anyway, have a great time. We hope to see you there. Like I said, it is open to spectators. Reminder of that. Please just come on by. Ask us questions.
Come sit out your lawn chair and watch people blast through the mud. It's fun.
Or just go. I think you have to sign up to hang out with the recovery class, but you are welcome to come talk to us. I will let you sit in my truck.
There you go.
If you ask.
Did you hear that? Dan said you could get in his truck and do the course, and no.
Go for it. Yeah. This actually turned out to be a pretty long episode. Yeah. I hope people are okay with that. I've heard so many people say, you should make them longer, so I hope you're happy.
It's too easy.
Oh, God.
All right.
I'm slipping, man. I'm slipping.
Yeah, I know. For this episode of Rain City Supercars, I'm Nick.
I'm Dan, and don't just get there. Enjoy the drive.